Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to this session today. I'm looking at around the room and thinking there should probably be a Google Next Endurance Award for folks that are here. So we're at day 3. If you were at the Partner Summit, this is day 4 for you. So again, credit for being here. If you were at the Chain Smokers last night, you get extra credit. Anyway, so I hope you share with me the thought that this has been a great conference, and I'm going to share a little bit with you today about what we're doing at Maven Wave around marketing analytics, and that's about driving the right message to the right customer for the right product at the right time. If you are not familiar with Maven Wave, we're a technology consulting company. We deliver rapid solutions to complex problems for large companies. We work almost exclusively on the Google Cloud Platform. We've been a partner of Google's since 2010. We're a premier partner for data analytics and machine learning, and we were very honored to receive the North America's Services Partner of the Year Award for 2017 earlier this week. So that's who we are. What I'm hoping you'll learn from my session in the next 45 minutes or so is, first of all, why is market analytics important? Why is this something that you should be focused on? Second, I'll share a framework with you that we're using and working with our clients to deliver marketing analytics solutions. And third, we'll map that framework to a number of hexagons that represent what we're doing, how we're engaging the Google Cloud Platform to deliver for our customers. Before we get into a lot of slideware, I thought I'd tell you a quick story. And that quick story is about this company that we have developed called Salient Auto. Salient Auto is an automotive manufacturer based in our home office in Chicago, Illinois. If you'd like one, stop by our booth in Moscone South. It's about this long, but we have plenty to give away, so stop by later on and grab one from us. But the point of this is that I wanted to actually start this conversation with a demonstration rather than traditionally leaving the demo to the end, and show you what we've been doing around marketing analytics with Salient Auto. And this is essentially what I'll talk about in the framework in a few minutes. But the way that we start this is by aggregating together a lot of information about the customer and the customer's journey into BigQuery. We're using this as BigQuery essentially is the aggregation point for data about marketing and data about the customer. And we're using that to drive dashboards. So we're helping, looking at this from the perspective of a marketing manager at an automotive dealership. We're creating a dashboard for him that lets him see exactly how his marketing is performing within his dealership. And as you can see, we've got a number of tiles that represent different parts of his marketing mix. A couple of things that I'll point out to you, because this is not just a traditional backward-looking dashboard, we're also incorporating recommendations in here. A couple of things that we're highlighting in red. First of all, he has a budget for incentives that are driven from Salient Corporate. So there's a regional incentive plan, and this dealership has $50,000 in the current quarter that they can distribute across different vehicles as additional incentives to their customers to buy specific products. And we're also going to see in a minute that there are recommendations that we're making around, or the machine learning algorithm is making around recommending specific keywords that they should be purchasing for the coming week. Most likely, since we've made some recommendations about adjusting keywords, actually changing some budget. I don't know if you can read this in the back, but the recommendation says we should optimize the budget by moving some money from TV to keywords. And also the recommending that we should update some incentives, so deploying incentives against specific vehicles. And the vehicles that we'll see in a minute, as it's highlighted in red over here, there are 3 vehicles on this dealer's lot that are over 60 days old. And if you spend any time working in automotive, you know that after 60 days, that's when the manufacturer stops paying for the inventory and you as a dealer have to start paying for it. So it's kind of critical for the dealer to move that inventory as soon as possible. So our marketing manager maybe will drill down into a budget planner and look at this in a little bit more detail. You can see some of the same recommendations on this top panel here, but as we drill in, here's his dealership performance against his peers, the circle being kind of average across the peer dealers in his region. And you can see he's overperforming at the moment on TV and underperforming on keywords, and that's part of the recommendation that we're going to be using. Down at the bottom here, you can see the smart incentives that smart incentives fund that's been available to them. We actually think we're doing a pretty good job because we have a 75% win rate while we're deploying smart incentives. That's a good thing. So because our fictitious marketing manager is not a very trusting person, we could, of course, automate this next step, but I'll show you the detail behind it. So what are the keywords that we're recommending? So there's a model in the salient line called a hierarchy, and the recommendation is that we go ahead and purchase the keyword silver salient, this is very difficult to say, silver salient hierarchy, and bid. I'm going to kill someone in creative that did that, by the way. I think they ambush me every time. Silver salient hierarchy, and have it set a daily budget of $23.33. So there's some rationale down here about why that's the case. I'm not going to go into that great detail today, but we'll go ahead and just set the keywords. So if I click set keywords there, it's going to take me back to my prior screen, and I'll update the budget, and that's going to move the money in my budget from TV into keywords. Then if I flip ahead to my AdWords page, you'll notice there's nothing down at the bottom of the page right now, but if I hit refresh, if the demo gods are on our side, it will have gone ahead and populated that ad for us. Not yet. We'll hit refresh again. Somebody sing the Jeopardy theme for me. Still not showing up. One more time. Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. So demos have some problems. What we're doing actually is we're calling the AdWords API in the background. We're injecting the specific ad with the specific budget against it, and we're linking it directly to the page for that individual car. Try this one more time. Actually, we've managed to do this without, but I'll just let it go. So we're targeting then the specific car, and that allows us to move buyers specifically to that page from the purchase. Anyway, so we were 95% complete on the demo today. It's a little less than I would usually expect. Okay, so that's a way of thinking about some of the steps we'll talk about later in terms of how we're going about doing marketing analytics. Build a warehouse of data, create a visualization, create some analytics around that data, and then activate on that. So moving on from there then, I think that the question though that when I'm talking to clients, what they're really asking is, why should marketing analytics be a priority for my business? I'm going to propose that there are two things that are critically important to you here. One is the performance of your business, and the second one is that your customers are radically changing. So let's look at the first one first. Performance of your business. So Forrester did a report in 2016 where they looked across businesses at performance of the marketing function, and what they found was companies that have a well-integrated marketing data and tools environment really are outperforming their peers. And they're outperforming their peers roughly by beating their budgets each year by over 10%, or their revenue goals by over 10%. So that's a fairly significant marker for leading organizations. They also recognized that 35% of the marketers they talked to saw return on marketing investment, or ROMI, as being one of the most valuable metrics that they had to secure additional budgets for their marketing programs. However, almost all the folks that Forrester talked to found that most of these marketers didn't have a way of actually measuring return on marketing investment. And so clearly what comes from that is really a call for what we were talking about earlier, this idea of an integrated data set or an integrated data warehouse that really spans across the entire marketing function. Another way of looking at this, McKinsey 2017 asked business leaders across functions and across industries, how is big data and analytics affecting your business? You perhaps would expect that the sectors on the right-hand side of this chart, high tech, energy, and sectors like that, are impacted fairly substantially by big data and analytics. What was really notable to me, and perhaps why I have this chart here, is that sales and marketing across industries was noted by business leaders as being heavily impacted by big data and analytics. And so again, this is another reason why we see leading companies now turning attention to marketing data and marketing analytics, because it is transformational for their businesses. Second thing then, your customers. And the way that I experience this is probably the same way that you do. I would ask you to just reflect on the journey that you had, the physical journey you had, planning and getting to Next over the past few days. How many humans did you interact with in that process? I'll propose to you that number is very, very small. Maybe the person who checked you in at the hotel. But most likely, almost all of your interactions were done without human intervention. And we're expecting, and research is showing us that by 2020, 85% or more of relationships between us as customers and companies is going to be done without any human interaction. And that puts a tremendous burden on us as marketers to really understand our customers. And of course, we have the complementary issues or opportunities being presented to us around the move from desktop to mobile. We have customers' expectations, and I'm a customer. My expectations of the people I work with are very, very high. I expect them to know me. And so that change in the way customers are behaving is another driver behind this need for integrated analytics around marketing. And this is really because our journeys have become much more complex as customers. We're self-directed now. Back not that long ago, marketers would essentially be able to tell you how you should experience their brand. That has completely been flipped on its head now. We as consumers, and I'm putting myself in your place as a consumer, I'm deciding how I experience your brand now. What order I do, what order I ask questions, what devices I use, where I am physically, whether I'm using online or offline contacts with you. All of that is completely changing the way that the customer experience is occurring. Again, that drives the need for us to have a new way of understanding how that relationship works, what the customer journey really is. And just to compound it, or maybe it's all a part of the same thing, we're more demanding. We expect marketers, we expect the brands that we work with to understand us, to have kind of this, to be able to create this seamless experience based on intimate knowledge about who we are and what we want. And that means that we have to really get to information that is relevant and timely and immediate for each interaction that we have with a customer. So our responses have to be tailored. They have to be immediate. They have to meet our needs for a short attention span. They have to be shareable. They have to be memorable. They have to be completely relevant to your point of view or your point in the journey with that customer, with that brand at that time. So that takes us to how do we do this? So the second thing I wanted to talk about today, as I said at the outset, was talk about a framework on how we relate to or how we talk to our customers and how we're implementing these types of solutions for them. So we have a fairly simple marketing analytics framework. It consists of 3 pieces, and I'll go through each of them in turn. Building a comprehensive marketing data warehouse. Second, developing analytics and visualization. And third, then driving on top of that machine learning solutions. First things first, let's talk about the framework. Well, I'll put this in the context of, not the framework, but the data warehouse. Let's put this in the context of a customer. Here's a customer. She's on the phone with your contact center. Well, for you to serve her and to meet her expectations, you need to know who she is. You need to know about her journey. You need to know what her expectations are. What is she expecting to get out of this conversation that she's having with you? Oh, by the way, you probably also in this interaction want to know what your objectives are as a marketer. What do you expect, what do you want her to experience, and how do you want to influence the journey that she's on? And so to be able to do that, we have to have this kind of comprehensive knowledge of her experience so far. There are a lot of data sources that we need to bring to bear here. And in my prior life as a CMO, I experienced the same challenge that I've talked about with many marketers here this week. And that is that we have most likely in our offices anywhere between a dozen and 2 or 3 dozen different marketing technology applications that we use to do our jobs. And they are often software as a service. They're tailored towards specific parts of the marketing process. They have their own individual data silos. Some of the very large organizations like Salesforce, some of them are custom, might be a warranty system or a service system for the automotive industry. There are a lot of third parties involved. Oh, yes, of course, there's also a fair amount of information that we can get from our partners at Google. So Google Ads and the Google Marketing Platform, we can bring all that data in through the BigQuery data transfer service. All that becomes available to us fairly quickly. But we also are writing or using third parties to integrate a number of all these other systems into this one holistic view of the customer. So we have to be able to access all that data. There is some quality control we have to do, but we are getting to the point where we can look across devices to get that one view of the customer, their journey, both online and offline. And I think it's important to note here that our goal in building this is to look towards the ultimate outcome for that customer. So what happened at the end? Did they buy? Did they not buy? Did they, what is our lifetime value, either present or expected for that customer? So we're going beyond just now, did I acquire that customer? Did they click on my ad? Want to go all the way to what is the value of that customer and what's the value, how did that customer experience the journey, and what do we learn from that? So there's a lot of data that needs to be brought together. We've been doing this for AAA. They came to us a couple of years ago now and said, gee, we have a problem, and our problem is that we have all these customers and we have all these business lines, but we can't tell what this customer is doing across business lines. So can you help us with this? And yes, we put together what we describe as a modern data platform. It's essentially that marketing data warehouse that I talked about earlier, bringing data from across the enterprise, from across their marketing applications, and from all of their internal functions to create that one view of the customer. They've been using that for a number of applications from a marketing point of view. They've been using it to do better targeting around their marketing, so they're communicating more effectively and more consistently with their customers. And their customers are hearing from them messages that are much more relevant. They're also able to deliver a much more consistent customer experience and customer service. So if you call for roadside service now, they know everything about you. They know more than just your car needs service. They know whether you're insured by them, whether you're a travel customer. This may not be critical to you when you've got a flat tire, but the point being that they have this holistic view, and they can use that to create much more seamless interactions between themselves and their customers. So second piece, the analytics and visualization. And this is where things get obviously a little bit more custom. If you're an automotive manufacturer, you're looking for certain things from the analytics for your customer's journey. Obviously, that experience is somewhat different from if you're selling soap powder, for example, laundry detergent. But we do have some templates that we start from in those conversations. And these are all driven around, again, what the marketer's needs are. On Brand magazine did a survey at the beginning of 2018 and asked what brand marketers' priorities were for 2018. And you'll notice that 3 of the top 4 bars on this chart, so vast majority of folks are concerned about something about the customer experience. This again drives this issue that we have to we really have to understand what the customer is experiencing and how to improve that experience. And so the analytics that we're building, the visualizations that we're building, are really around helping them understand that customer experience, how to acquire customers effectively, how to retain them, so minimizing churn if you have a long-term business, a long-term relationship, and how to enhance that customer experience. At Crate and Barrel, over the last, I think this was maybe a year and a half ago now, they came to us with a problem that was kind of reflective of this analytics and visualization problem, which was many of their internal processes were difficult. They were very manual. They, again, were not able to bring a visualization together or bring analytics together that were helpful to their marketing team, and they weren't able to make decisions in a timely way. So we developed a set of dashboards for them. We've automated a lot of the reporting. We've reduced all their routine reporting by maybe 10x. And we're delivering much better, much improved time to insight for them. They turned this into money by identifying a real mismatch between the time that they were sending paper catalogs through the mail, which are very expensive, to their customers, and there was a regional distribution or a regional demand issue that they hadn't seen before. They were able to time these campaigns differently and both reduce their costs and improve response times by delivering the right catalog to the right customers in the right region at the right time. The last piece I'll talk about is the machine learning solutions. And here you can go in a number of different directions, as you might expect. I have a different chart which I use sometimes, which is kind of a checkerboard of here are about a dozen different sample machine learning solutions. You saw a couple earlier in the demonstration where we're targeting, what are the right keywords to select and what is the right bid level for a specific vehicle, and how do we select the right incentives to go onto vehicles that have been on the lot a long time. A couple of other kind of samples for you. Segmentation, customer segmentation based on this holistic view becomes much more empowered. We're talking now about being able to segment based on specific behaviors in close to real time, if not actual real time. So we're able to really create much more meaningful segments, being able to address specific offers to segments on a much more fine-tuned basis because of our more holistic view. The second thing that we're doing, which again has been difficult for marketers to do in the past, is to really understand attribution, which is now that we're looking at a complete data set which spans all the way from your first contact with a brand all the way through purchase or non-purchase. We're able to use machine learning techniques to understand the value of each marketing channel. So that allows us now to say that in this particular context, for this segment of customers, digital is more valuable than email, or digital is more valuable than search, or vice versa. Impact of that is pretty significant. We take that with our customers all the way through optimization and into marketing mix modeling, so you can now reshape your budgets based on a complete understanding of what the actual sales impact is of the investments that you've made in each individual customer's journey. Going back to our friend on the phone earlier, that means that we can go to her and we can, knowing what we do know now about her journey, we can take that next best action. We can target the offer to her, in this case through the contact center script that she's using or that she's being exposed to get her on her journey to a place where she has the best customer experience that she can get from you, while at the same time you're managing her towards the outcomes that are most profitable for you. So we activate a lot of these machine learning models through these different channels. And of course, this varies customer by customer or client by client that we're working with, but activation now is really something, and machine learning driven activation is something that is a reality. It really is allowing us at this point to target individually right product, right offer, right customer, right time, right channel. I would love to stand here and say that we can do all this overnight. Clearly we can't. And the way that the way that we approach this with our customers is to think of this in an agile way. We develop software in other parts of our business for our clients, and we use Agile as our core methodology there. And while it may be, while you may not expect that this translates directly into what we're doing for marketers, it does, because we're essentially following an iterative process in delivering solutions to them. We think about it in these 5 phases, and we would tend to go around this circle multiple times for an engagement. So first of all, collecting and transforming data. So collecting, as I said earlier, we have a whole host of different source applications that we're drawing data from, transforming that data and making it available in the data warehouse. Analyzing and visualizing that data. So analysis is great, but it's not useful unless you can actually see it and have folks make decisions on it. So analyze and visualize, and then activate that through the marketing channels that I said earlier. So actually connecting back, generally through APIs, to those delivery systems. So you're delivering the right message to the right customer, right time. We go through this cycle multiple times. It's important that you not get stuck at any one point. I encourage you, if you're going down this path, to think about use cases first. What's the data that drives the use case, that drives value? Go around the cycle, get some return on investment, show leadership that you are paying, that this is essentially paying for itself. That's going to secure the investment to do the next iteration and the one after that. And that's the way that I've been doing this for quite some time, and we're able to move forward with these projects pretty rapidly, and at the same time show return to the business. And there's nothing like showing a monetary return on this investments to secure investment for the next cycle. So that's the journey, and I would encourage you to think about it as a journey. So you can map those phases to the cloud platform products that we're using. As you'd expect, BigQuery is the home, and as I've described earlier, BigQuery is the home for the data warehouses that we build. We use other tools from the GCP suite to ingest data, whether it's streaming or batch from all these different applications. For analytics, we use Data Lab. We use the Cloud ML engine to do analytics based on what's in BigQuery. Of course, many of the ML capabilities are now merging into BigQuery, so a lot of this is going to end up probably in that one hexagon. But we've been using a number of these tools in the past to get us to this point. For visualization, Data Studio is ramping up faster and faster. We're getting a lot of traction now in using Data Studio with our clients. We do use partner products, and I think my colleagues on the Google side recognize that clients have investments in Tableau and in Looker, and so as a services organization, we certainly work with those solutions too to deliver the visualizations they're looking for. And then in activation, this is where we can publish solutions from the machine learning that we're doing as APIs, and they can be consumed that way. Some of the marketing technologies that we work with are still batch-oriented, and some of the data is not so volatile that you need to have an API, so you can deliver through batch as well. But that's essentially the way we're delivering and activating to each of these technologies. So that gives you a sense of the scope of how we're delivering and how our customers are integrating their marketing analytics or delivering their marketing analytics using the Google Cloud Platform. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how we as Maven Wave are working with the Google Cloud Platform to deliver against the goals of marketing analytics. As a former CMO, wish I'd had this a few years ago. I think it is really game-changing for the clients that we're working with. And I'll just leave you in summary with these three thoughts. First of all, really this integrated marketing analytics is a marker now of high-performing marketing organizations. And the leading enterprises that we're working with recognize this is game-changing for them. If you think back to that McKinsey chart that I showed earlier, analytics and big data are transformational for sales and marketing across all industries. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution, but it's transformational for all. And so this is really a marker of the companies that are going to be leading in their industries. A comprehensive marketing data warehouse is an essential foundation. It doesn't all get built in one day, but it is really the foundation both for doing analytics and visualization and then getting to machine learning. So the machine learning is going to deliver the insights and actions that are going to delight your customers. And at the end of the day, it's all about the customer experience and delighting that customer. Last and most importantly is this is a journey. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. But if you start now, you will be ahead of your competitors. Go back and look at that five circle chart and start with collecting the essential data for that first use case, deliver some value, and you'll be ahead of the curve, I think, on your analytics, your marketing environment versus those of your competitors. So that's all I had to say on this morning. I would be happy to answer questions. I hope you found this valuable. I know there's only a couple of hours left, but if you'd like to talk further, I'll be at our booth in Moscone South for the rest of the afternoon. So have a great rest of the day, and thank you for being here. I appreciate it.